I had a friend the other day that asked me a simple question. He's a software engineer, fresh out of college, and he was applying for a few jobs. And he got a few interviews. He got an interview with this one big tech company. I'm not gonna name what the tech company is, who they are, but they asked him about scope. It was a simple question about scope, and he was able to nail that one. I don't think he got through. He got through the first round. I'm not sure if he got through the second round, but he was just complaining about how that's always a question that comes up. This whole idea of like scope and why it's so important. Well, it can be a very, very big issue. And here's a perfect example of this. So say, for example, you're writing some server side code. So you're writing some code and you have a variable which is a global variable. So you have variables, you have local variables, you have global variables. So you have a global variable. Say, for example, it's an array. So it's a global variable, it's an array. But here's the issue with that. You have a global, it's an array, okay? Now, if over time that array gets larger and somehow it stays in memory, you got big problems on your hand, and that can literally crash your server, because what you'll get is what they call a out of memory error. Because now, the thing you have to understand is that you have your program, and you have that program on the disk, and then you have it in RAM. It has to go into RAM so then it can be processed by the compiler. But it has to be, it's in RAM. Not all of the program, but bits and pieces of it. So the thing is, now this has to do with scope as a global variable. So it's a global variable. It gets larger and larger. Well, that's a big issue. If that variable stays in memory, if that array stays in memory, it just gets larger and larger. What you get is an out of memory error, which can crash your server within milliseconds. Your server is crashed. So the thing you have to understand is that it's extremely important that you understand, how to initialize your variables. You have to understand scope. It's extremely important. It can create issues like this, out of memory errors and stuff like that. That crashes the server just like that instantly. So you got to know how to. The thing is, people say, a lot of web developers will tell you, well, you don't need to get a degree in computer science. That's not worth it. No, you need to get down your data structures. You need to get down your algorithms, systems design. There's a lot to learn, but that's a common mistake. So yeah, always remember that a lot of times, any kind of object, any kind of like an array, an object, these type of data structures, they get larger and larger over time, or they can, and that can be a big, big issue because they're in RAM, and you only have so much RAM. Your server only has so much RAM. Your database only has so much RAM. So always think about, like, if you're reviewing other people's code and you're going through it, you're like, okay, this doesn't seem right. You have an array, it's at the top of the file, it's an empty array. You have a variable side of that array, it's at the top of the file. This could create some issues, especially if that's a global variable. That's a no-no. So hope you liked my video. My name is Tom Ratcliffe. Make sure you follow my blog, get on my newsletter. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about this video. I'll talk to you later.